Welcome, everyone, to the next perfect step. I'm your co host, Laurie Mullen, and today I am so excited that we are going to do a roundtable discussion.
I'm your co-host, Laurie Tremblay, and we're very excited to have our two special guests today, Kim McStay, who is the owner of Raven's Rest Ranch, and Garry Simon, a sound healer and Reiki master. They've agreed to come and talk about our last two episodes, which was about Bashar's channeling, about open contact. And it's really opened up a lot of thought and discussion and questions. And so that's what we want to just explore today, those questions and how we feel about it. So thank you for joining us. And Laurie, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm super excited because this discussion has opened up a ton of thought process for me. Going from where I believe we were and focusing on what's now to what I prefer and what I need to change in myself. So I'm super excited to hear what this has brought up for everybody else. So what does open contact mean to each one of us? Either one of you want to begin and also introduce yourself?
Garry, you want to start?
Sure. First off, I'm Garry Simons. As Laurie Tremblay did say, and again, before I start, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with Laurie and Kim and Laurie Mullen. And this is we're living in exciting times. There's a lot changing. We're in constant motion as far as what's happening around us. I myself, I've been working, my background is in the medical profession. I was a clinical pharmacist in a hospital setting for 41 years. I worked helping people get better when they got ill enough that they ended up in a hospital, and I would help with the medications in regards to that. For the last 8 years, I have been working with sound and vibration, primarily crystal singing bowls, and in doing so, helping people help themselves heal and helping them relax to a point where they can heal themselves. And that's been very rewarding, and I've seen much in that field. So thank you again for allowing me to be here. What was the original question, Laurie Mullen?
What does open contact mean for you?
Okay.
Yeah. And I say that because, I think the four of us could probably talk for hours about a multitude of things. Well, open contact, really, when you think about it, open contact is not a new concept. Since the beginning of man, we have had interaction with quote unquote aliens or extraterrestrials. You can see this whether you go to inside the pyramids of Egypt or in the southwest of our own country in Utah. There's Lower Calf Canyon falls where there's petroglyphs that depict. When I saw them, I said, "Oh my God, these look like spacemen." There's what are these petroglyphs on the walls of the canyon walls, and so open contact has been with us for a very long time. I believe that the veil is thinning right now. We're in a very special time where the veil has thinned to a point where I believe the open contact is going to be coming to the forefront, and in a way that is going to remove all doubt from people's mind. Anybody with an open mind, at least, that oh my word, we are not alone. Which in reality, if you thought that we were alone in this big, huge universe, then that would be ridiculous. So open contact is knowing and realizing that we have interaction with these other dimensional beings that have been with us from the beginning of time.
Thank you.
Kim, you want to take
over? So first of all, before we start, we want to see Kim wear a special shirt today. It's there's there's little like alien ships. We have Jesus riding a dinosaur, which I don't mean to offend anyone. If I have, I'm so sorry. I think it's great. I got permission first to wear it. So anyway, my name is Kim McStay, and I do Ravens Rest Ranch, which sounds a lot better in sentence than it is in person. But I absolutely love living there. I am an intuitive healer and teacher, and I work with energy work like Garry does and frequencies with the energy. And like Garry, I help people really learn how to heal themselves. So I try to give tools to help them be able to take care of their own situations. And I get a little bit into it with not really counseling, but just, being able to openly talk about what it is that might be creating issues in their bodies, and trying to work through that on all levels. Open contact to me started when I was a very little girl. So mostly in my dreams, some of which I can't really tell you whether it was real or a dream. It just happened frequently. And so for me, open contact has just kind of been part of my life, along with my siblings. My brother especially has been visited by an extraterrestrial. So it kind of runs in our family that, we're open to a lot of that stuff. But I think, like Garry had said, we really have this opportunity to look at the world so differently. And we can either focus on the positive aspect of what open contact might mean, such as having them bring us free energy, the ability to learn how to use that, to learn how to set up communities, to, forget about a lot of this chaotic, negative atmosphere that's out there, and begin to really go within and find out who we truly are as individuals, and help humanity grow. So I like to focus on that and not all of the negativity that's going on in the world.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that what we create our own reality, right? So what we focus on and what we're opening ourselves to accept is something that we need. It helps us to create our own and our own perceptions. I think it's neat that all four of us have the healing. We work in the healing arts. So that's really neat. I like that. And I think that's going to be needed, not only now, but coming up in the future as well. So, yeah, agreed.
So for me, it means that we get to live in a world of more abundance, more things that we need, right? I think my hope for open contact is that we have an exchange of our basic needs so that every single person lives abundantly. And if we can meet all of our basic needs, we create a world where there's no fear, right? We don't hurt ourselves, we don't hurt other people because we have everything we need. So if we have more supplies and more options, so if other galaxies come to us with, say, technology of clean water for everyone, abundant water for everybody, then, they may need on their galaxy pine trees. And so we can, look what we do at Christmas time. We can grow pine trees and it doesn't take anything away from us. So it creates a world of abundance for everybody, right? We're not giving away and lacking anything. It's bringing more abundance to us, more technology, lighting up knowledge within us that we can have a reciprocal relationship that creates more abundance for everybody. And I'm hoping creates a world here where we live in less fear. And when we live in less fear, then we can live in a community where we're not harming ourselves or anyone else. And so therefore creates less fear in the world. So that's where my hope that brings forth with open contact. So to follow up on that, what would you want the new universe to look like? I mean, if we were living as neighbors, with our own world and with other galaxies, I mean, what would you want that to look like? What would that look like for you? Garry, do you want to start?
What is it going to look like? So I have to go back and look at the different things within the concept of the changing world, and I think my background is very diverse, and I'm probably a contradiction in the sense that I work with quote unquote metaphysical type stuff now, but I also did spend a lot of my years uh, looking at scriptures and biblical and different religions, and so the new world. I mean, it really is heaven on earth. I mean, and that's basically a heaven on earth to me would represent a world full of love, and the love is something which is in all of us, would have to come through in a quote unquote Christ consciousness. So a Christ consciousness is that consciousness which allows the love and allows the unconditional love and compassion within each one of us and within the universe to come forth and to be the umbrella of emotions, the umbrella of feelings, the umbrella of that which is in each side of us, the light within each side of us, inside of us. Again, going to the religious side of things, and yeah, I love your T-shirt, Kim. I really do. With Jesus riding the dinosaur, I love it. I love it. So, but going back to the religious aspect of things, or I say religious, spiritual side of things. As an ascended master, as an example, Christ was sent to us with unconditional love in his heart. There is much now that is talked about now about the light within each side of us, the light that is there around us. And Jesus himself said, I'm light. He is the light of the world. Also, they talk about the truth, and in Jesus was referred to as the truth. So this new world, no matter what technology, no matter what is going on around us, is going to be a world full of love, of compassion, of joy, of peace, of that which you cannot measure in a monetary means. There's so much of our world now is monetary, and what somebody can gain from it, and the term abundance. It isn't always just money. It's love and compassion and resources that are fresh and healthy. So that's what I would want to see in a new world, is a world full of love and compassion and joy and peace.
Yeah, the abundance part you just mentioned, I think that was what also Laurie was talking about, that we don't have lack or fear,
Right.
but abundant and
Right.
more than just material. We have exchanges of material needs, also exchanges of our love and compassion with each other.
Yes.
Well, like I said, our basic needs, so food, water, shelter, love,
yes.
compassion, to be seen and heard. I mean, that's what I'm talking about in abundance, like our basic needs being met in abundance.
Yes, I agree 100%. And as we all know, the opposite of love isn't hate; it's fear. And we're living, and we have been living in a very fear-based environment. And I think it's up to all of us and the general community, the collective, to raise our vibration to a vibration of love and get out of the fear, the lack of resources, and fear of everything and anything around us.
Thank you. I think what I envision and my real wish for the whole humanity and universe is that, because I really feel like there's so many different types of aliens, and there's so many different types of humans, that we will finally come to a place where we won't look at one another and say, you're this, you're that, but to just have that equal share of, true equality, because we don't have true equality now. And, I really feel like what I've seen and heard recently is bringing all this back up again to point out you're different from I am, from who I am. And I am really hoping that open contact hears that, because there's so many interactions with aliens and humans too that, scientists have started to uncover with DNA, and, we're not who we think we are. And we're probably more connected to alien life than we even realize. And maybe that joining will bring it back into communities where, people just share. Like I sometimes visualize, like, the tall whites and, the grays and all of these other types of aliens just working together in a garden and creating nourishment for the rest of humanity, and including in the loving department. I just feel like we won't be attached to all of the things that we find wrong. I feel like we'll be more attached to things that we find right.
So I have a follow-up question to that, because that's a great line of thinking. But my question is, why do we feel like we can be more acceptance to the difference of how aliens are going to come and look and feel, and we're going to be more open to accepting than we are to accepting our own fellow man who's different?
That's a very, very good question, because, and again, I really believe that a lot of kids coming in now, the ones that are being born within the last 10 years and up, and maybe even a little bit longer with my own grandson, but they have that ability to see everything as equal. And I think they're going to help us really settle into opening up our hearts and our minds to a different way of living. And I think some of them have been DNA altered so that, you look at some of the eyes on these kids that are coming in now. I'm sorry, but I don't ever remember seeing kids with eyes like that when I was young. So I believe it's our generation of the past 10 to 15 years that is really going to help us transfer into that. And I think that's why the timing is the way it is, because I believe that they've been here all along, but now, some parts of society are starting to open up to the reality that, even scientists now are discovering so much more than, like, you can't deny it anymore, but a lot of people still do. But I do believe that, they're probably the ones that are, have these kids brought into their families. There's a really good, and I think telepathy is part of that, but there's a really incredible podcast tape that it's called the Telepathy Tapes. And one of my clients, a friend of mine, she introduced me to this. And a lot of the kids with autism who are nonverbal actually communicate with each other telepathically. And so they've done documentary films and studies with these kids and with their parents. And a lot of their parents come from very religious backgrounds, or backgrounds that no way in creation would they believe that this is possible. But their kids have taught them that, yes, it is possible and it's happening. And, they call themselves something on the hill, and they can all talk to each other. And, and then they can easily test that because they're not even in the same zip code. So it's pretty incredible what we already have out there available to us, but that we don't, we're a little, to be honest, if an alien showed up on this table right now, probably pee my pants, to be honest, but because it's not what we know. But I think our generation, and I've been blessed with my grandson because he'd he'd probably be proud if I said this, but I think he's got some alien DNA, and he comes from a whole different planet in his brain than I'm aware of. So he's taught me a lot. So I hope that answers.
Oh, no, and I completely agree with you. I think our children are so much more open and have not bought into the belief systems that are already here. I think they are more open to think for themselves. They're more open of differences. I think that was a perfect answer. Absolutely.
Thank you. Your
So,
son
Laurie,
is.
do you want to take over the question? What would you want your new universe to look like?
Well, okay, I love that question because I'm already, I think a lot of us are already dreaming about what we want our universe to look like, and to have. I believe that a lot of the fear comes from maybe some of the movies that were around in the 50s about. I don't really like the word aliens because it just makes you feel like those movies. So there was a lot of fear, that they're going to come and take over your body and blah blah blah. So I think that's totally fear based, and I believe that our cosmic family is a lot. I think we've been called the new kids on the block. So our cosmic family is more advanced and has more capacity for love, and they probably haven't really made open contact because of it's the attitudes and the fear and the anger that is present, but is being dissipated, I think, now because a lot of us, more people are becoming awake and aware of their spirituality and their capacity for love and connection with each other and with our cosmic family. And I'm looking forward to the relationships and just the expansion that's coming, because this 3D world it's not all there is. There's so much more. And I think it's time now that we explore what there is around us, what's really within us is the big thing, is to go within and find out how wonderful and magnificent we all are, because we've been taught that we're just small, and we're not. So I'm looking forward to the expansive part and the connections with our cosmic family. I'm really excited.
Wonderful. So for me, I would like our new universe to be where we are all standing in our own power, where we show up as equals. A universe where we all feel heard, where we all feel loved, we feel like we belong to the whole universe. And that's part of standing in our power, where we all feel like we're contributing something. Right? I don't think that they're coming here just to give us something. I believe they're here to help us and to, help advance us and to help expand us. But I don't believe they're just here to give to us. I do think that this is going to be a reciprocal relationship. And we have to show up feeling worthy of that, feeling like we're contributing to. We have to show up as equals. And that's what I would like for us, is to show up in our power, and for a universe to look like I said before, where we feel strong enough, where we love ourselves enough, and where we're loving each other enough to stand up in our power and know that we are just as worthy as them coming with new technology, that we are just as valuable, that we have something to contribute, and that we feel validated in that, right? And so that's what I would like us as a universe to look, showing up to the rest of the universe, where we live together in harmony, where we contribute to each other, where we support one another in all ways, as in our basic needs and in healing, where we live in harmony. And creating more beauty on this earth. That's what I would like our new universe to look like. So our next question would be, what kind of exploration does this bring up for you? Like, what questions have you or thought process has just this conversation brought up in you? Like, what questions do you guys have?
I guess
Want me to
I'll,
start? Oh, sorry.
yeah, or no, you go ahead. Actually, you go ahead, Gary.
Okay. Well, open contact in regards to today's topic is in regards to Bashar and some of the stuff that was coming through there. That's one of the things that I have been looking at in regards to the open contact that we're talking about today, without going down too many rabbit holes. So what it has brought up in me is the aspects of some of the things that he has said, which is that we have to elevate our vibration. Now, that in a scientific way is they're talking about, he gave a specific of 200,000 hertz or cycles per second in regards to the elevation of our vibration. So that being said is, okay, how can I raise my vibration? And the way I believe that we're being told to raise our vibration is through the mechanism of love, through the mechanism of compassion, through the mechanism of joy and within us, and to that the aspect of fear, it lowers the vibration. So that's what I, in myself, is try to focus on the things of love and try to focus on, and that's everything. That's loving everything and everybody, and you don't have to agree with what's going on. As they say, it's not my quotes, but you can't control what's going on around you. All you can control is how it affects you. So to look at things in a way of compassion and love, I believe is going to, or in my own vision, is to elevate the vibration. Also, the aspect of the balancing of the male and female, that's something else that Bashar mentions. And the balancing of male female, to me, represents the male is a tendency of conflict. The female has a tendency of listening and understanding and compassion. So again, man and female are wired differently, but the aspect of ridding ourselves of conflict and embracing the understanding of the differences in all of us, and loving each other for who we are and what we are, and that understanding is, again, the balancing of male female and raising the elevation of the vibration through the process. Just to go back just for a second, the idea of 200,000 hertz, that sound, from a sound perspective, the human ear would have a hard time hearing it and may not even hear it. It's the sound. It's supersonic. It's the sound that a bat or that a dolphin in nature gives off, and that is the sound of the higher vibration. And so, in me, I like the stillness of listening, of sitting, of just hearing that which our ears don't necessarily audibly hear, but that which comes through in a way that is beyond human hearing, and a high vibration of love. So that's what I work on.
That's very interesting. I love that, especially about the sound the way you explained it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a little to add to the whole vibrational frequency. Um, I I think that like everybody always says, gratitude is the highest form of frequency, and I disagree with that. I think that the state of knowing is the highest frequency, and I think that when we get into our own personal power, which is sort of my question to it, like how if they come here, is that going to enhance our own sense of personal power, or are they going to want us to um, kind of be instructed by what it is that they want to create here? Are we going to be co-creators with them in the new vision of what the world will look like? Um, and can we stay in that co-creative state if we keep our frequency high enough where we're not used to that frequency, but in a state of knowing where we know truly who we are and remember our own inner power and just how incredibly powerful we are. I think we can stay in that state of frequency, no matter how out of range it sounds, which it does really sound out of range. But I think we can do that. But that would be my question: is how do we communicate to them how we want to co-create and not be the people that create for them?
So I went down that same path, and I think that's a great explanation of thought. Absolutely. And I went down the same path. So for me, in the beginning, when I first heard this Bashar conference, that was one of my thoughts. Like, we can't show up and just say, what are you going to do for us? Like, it has to be a co-creation. We have to show up as equals, or we're just going to be followers again. And then they come with their own agenda, and they're going to come with their own agenda. And that's okay, because I'm not saying that it's a bad agenda at all. But we need to be part of that process. We need the reciprocal understanding that that's what we want too, and to have our voice be heard in that process of what we're going to create moving forward. And I think that that's our work from here until when it actually happens, is that we are on a frequency, we are empowered in ourselves to feel the confidence to stand there side by side with them and know we're just as valuable. I don't think as a society we're there right now. Like you guys are saying, we're not at that frequency. But I think that that's our work, right? And that starts within each one of us. I heard something recently that, instead of teaching people, like, we're going to show up and our vibration is just going to start affecting other people, right? And it's going to get them to that, to want to go down the path to bring their vibration up to where we are. And so it starts with each one of us. If we can get to there, we can help other people get to where we need to be. But I think that's excellent, Kim. That's very important as to what you were saying, because I went through in the beginning, when I first heard that, I went through the same process. I mean, when we first heard this, I looked at all the negatives. Like, I looked at our society and thought, oh my God, like, no wonder they're postponing this. Because, like, I mean, right away I heard questions and stuff about, people were romanticizing aliens and stuff. And I thought, oh my God, is this really where we are? Like, there's so much we need to work on. But yet then I went through this amazing process of where I think that this has gone for me is that I want us to stop. And I think that this is the old, where we are always focusing on what's wrong or what needs to be healed. And we're moving to following our joy. So what is it we prefer? If we truly, you hear it all the time, we create our own world. We create our own reality. And if you truly believe that, then you have to believe it in every aspect of everything. So we're going from seeing what we don't want to now focusing on what we prefer. And that's part of this conversation. Like, what is it that we prefer? What do we want to move towards? Instead of looking backwards, what do we want to move towards? And Garry, me and Laurie have talked a lot about the feminine and masculine energy. So I think, and it's hugely important. And Bashar talked about that we have to balance that, right? For me, feminine energy is creativity, and masculine energy is action. And we balance that. So joy and following our joy. So joy is the creativity of finding what feels more joyful in every moment and acting on that. So for me, that's what my balanced feminine energy looks like. And that may change as I keep learning about it. But for me, that would be the balance for me, is finding what is joyful for me in every moment and then acting upon that. So thank you both. As you can see, this really excites me. These conversations really excite me. So Laurie, if you want to take over next, what exploration or what questions or what thought process has come up for you in these conversations?
Well, we heard Bashar, another channeling that Garry sent us, where he was talking about, like, not everyone's going to be on the same page. We're not right now. We're all working on ourselves. So sometimes our perception is going to be a little bit different than someone else's. Someone else might be in fear, and so they're going to experience open contact that way. If we can be working on ourselves and working on our vibration, as we are talking about, then I think for me, I'm excited, and I believe that we're talking about agendas. I believe that our cosmic family loves us and is coming to really extend that love to us. And I don't think they're going to have it in their mind that they want to take over, because that's a little bit fear-based. I don't believe that that's their viewpoint from what Bashar is saying and trying a different channeling. So I was a little bit like going back, I was a little bit afraid about what their agenda was, but I've come around, is what I'm trying to say, that it's from a place of love. And I'm excited about that. And just getting to know, because I know that all of us, that our home hasn't always been on Earth. We've been on different star planets and things like that. And we don't remember, but I think that this gives us an opportunity to reconnect those memories and reconnect with those experiences and grow, to exponentially to grow.
Well, I like what you said. It reminds me of what we talked about before, of a new way of communicating. So we're not all on the same agenda or the same belief system, right? But a new way of communicating is, can we come with those different points of view and find the foundation of why, right? So two completely point of view, but in the aspect of it is we all want to feel safe and loved, right? So even though we're on opposite sides, if we can break down and stop trying to control and force people to believe our belief, and yet find the foundation of why we both have that belief, which really is to live in, love and have our basic needs met, or whatever the foundation is. I'm just trying to connect it together and realize that that's both what we want, even though we believe it comes in different ways. And can we move forward in a conversation working from that foundation of, really, even though we have two different points of view, it's really because we want the same thing.
You're talking about finding common ground.
Right. Right. Which is a new way of communicating. Right now, we don't do that. Right now, we are either forcing people to believe what we believe, or we're not open-minded to even hear what the other person has to say, to even find the common ground, because we are we're stuck in our own belief system, and we can't even question our own belief system. And I believe that with these kinds of conversations, we can get people to communicate in a new way, to hear one another out, to think in a new way.
Yeah, I really love that you said that, because I have seen a lot of changes in people in a really positive way through all of this, that, you know, people that were very, very cemented in their belief systems are starting to at least open their heart a little bit, or not wanting to, because friends have been on opposite sides of the fence through the political aspect, and, many other reasons, war, all of that. And I think we're being forced now to accept the fact that we think differently, but our approach to how we make it is super different. But like you said, the foundation and the goal and the outcome is usually the same. When you sit down and you discuss it, it's usually the same exact. We all want peace. We all want love. We all want community. But how do we get there? Yeah, I love that you brought that up.
Thank you. So does anybody else have anything they want to talk about in this, or we go back to opening?
I just wanted to say that, I think it's a beautiful thing that if everybody finds that common ground and is in one mindset in regards to all, but the reality is that there will always be people who think differently, have different ideas, and for us as individuals, it's we're here to learn. And I liked what Kim said earlier, the whole idea of knowledge. But the learning is learning who we are inside and our connection to divinity and to the divine source, and why are we here? And that knowledge of understanding ourselves and how we fit into this place called Earth is important. And I think that we will not all agree on everything as far as humanity goes. I think the four of us are just a beautiful thing, that we can come together and share ideas and talk to one another. You will find that people have different ideas, and when they have different ideas, they don't take it as a subjective idea. They take it as their opinion, and they can become very, very obstinate about it. And I love the idea of just learning. A wise man once told me that when you're speaking, you're not learning. You're not learning when you're speaking. When you're listening is when you learn. And I love listening to all of you, because through your ideas and through your minds, I can learn from your experiences and from your understanding of the earth that we live on.
Yeah, I love that. And that's exactly why, to hear us all talk, it sends me down another pathway of thinking that I may never have even come up with to even think about, which is what I loved where we started all this. That's exactly what Bashar had done for me, was just open up new ways of thinking that I had never even contemplated thinking about. So I love these conversations. So thank you.
Thank you for being with us. And if our listeners have any comments, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are, or your questions, or your opinions are about this topic. We have a Facebook page, and also you can contact us at the next perfect step at gmail.com. We appreciate you.
Go ahead, Laurie.
We just thank everyone for being with us today, and especially our wonderful guests, Kim and Garry.
Thank you.
So there was one other thing. Bashar had given us the statement, And he said he was not going to tell us the meaning, that this was a statement where we needed to talk to one another. We needed to share our thoughts and our ideas and what we thought that this meant, which I kind of love that. I love that he's not telling us, but he's letting us explore, right? So the statement was, the dark night of the soul calls forth the light within. And when the light of truth comes forth, the blind shall see once again. Now he repeats it again. And on the third time, I found it very interesting that he changed it just a slight bit. The dark night of the soul calls forth the light within. And once the light of truth comes forth, the blind shall see once again. We'll explore that another time. I want to explore the main theory of it, but I found it very, very interesting that on the third time he changes one little word, which kind of opens up like, what does that mean to change that one little world? So I just love this expansion. But I'd like to go around and ask each one of you kind of, what are your thoughts on that statement and what could it mean for you? And if you'd like me to repeat it again, I will if you need me to.
I would love to start on that because I have a lot of thought process when it comes to the dark night of the soul. I don't see it as that negative thing that a lot of us have been sort of told that it is about, where you hit rock bottom and now you have the dark night of the soul. Einstein says that darkness is really not in existence as much as it is just the absence of light. So for me, that statement, because I've seen that statement, means that when you go into that state of darkness, and it doesn't always come from a negative quality, but when the distractions that we experience that really are not meaningless, but not meant to increase our growth or our learning, when we see all of this negative, hateful distractions happening in the world, sometimes we get to that point of surrender. And I really feel like for me, I have experienced dark night of the soul actually a couple of times. And it has been from a buildup of negative things, illness and that kind of thing. But what I have realized is it's actually a beautiful place to be because without any light to shine any shadows on anything, you're in this state of complete marinating in your own skin and who you are, and you start to see who you are, and you start to understand the importance of true humanity as opposed to all of the distractions that are out there. So then when the light comes, you have a choice that you can see all of the negativity still, but you can't unsee the truth. Because when it comes crashing down and all of the things that society and our from childhood up, what we've been taught as truth isn't necessarily our own personal truth. And I get argued with a lot on people that I bring up this subject with because there is such a thing as truth. Well, I don't really believe there is an expansive truth. I don't really believe that. I believe that the truth is within each and every one of us as to what resonates with us as an individual within the collective consciousness. So for me, when the light finally is shown on the darkness, then the choice comes in. Do I create something incredible for myself, or do I live in that shadow aspect of the light and not embrace everything that is available to us when the truth is really illuminated before us? We can kind of go in the shadow, but you really can't unsee what is your own truth. So that's my
my
take
perspective.
Yeah, that's great. So that means like where the blind shall see, that's kind of what you said. You can't unsee
you can't unsee the truth.
I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a lot of time alone to think about crap.
Good. Gary, do you have an idea about that?
When I saw these words, heard these words, the dark night of the soul, I I look at it on yes, there's an individual aspect, like Kim mentioned, but I look at our journey, our existence as possibly being everything that we experience of learning as potentially uh, that of the dark night of the soul, of the learning process, and that which is in all of us. And and again, when I see these words, it's almost scriptural to me, because when I see light, I look at it in the way of, again, from a spiritual, um, and it isn't just Christianity. Christ consciousness is not all about Christianity. Christ consciousness is about the Christ, which is uh, compassion, unconditional love, and that is what I see in these words is that we're going through this journey, this dark night of the soul. I believe we're all in that no, it isn't deep, dark, and terrible. It's just this learning process. And when the light shines through, and the again, I am almost if you went back into old scriptures, Old Testament type stuff, there's prophecies about um, the light of the world coming forth, and yes, the blind being able to see, and there is actually it says the young men will prophesy, that there will be much unveiling in these times. So I look at it as not only scriptural, but okay, is this something that is interconnected with this contact, this open contact concept? Is is this knowing of the the different realms? What we see is not real. What we don't see is reality, and there's so much that we don't know. The different dimensions, the whole time space illusion that we live in, and I have to, in my mind, I have to ask myself the question: is there a connection between the prophets of old, and we're going back to um, you know, way back to pre-flood, that they found tablets, which with the different scrolls that they found, and within it they talk about the coming of light, the changing of the world in a way that the mind can't even comprehend. And so I have to ask myself, is this open contact something that's interconnected? And again, I'm just talking ideas. I love talking ideas because to me, that's where everything is in the conversation of ideas, and there's no right or wrong. It's just an idea. So when I see these words, the dark night of the soul, maybe that's where we're at, and the light and the truth being the Christ consciousness within each one of us coming forth, and the metaphorical aspect of the blind man being able to see the truth, the blind man being able to understand that which he's been blind to throughout humanity, maybe. Again, just an idea.
No, and it's wonderful. You're right. I mean, when we start the show, we say all possibility lies in conversation. And that's it. Like the more that we have conversation, the more thought process we think, right? I mean, that's how I work too. I mean, I don't just have one conversation about it, and I see my beliefs changing in it and my thoughts changing, and it expands and it expands and expands. But you have to talk about those thoughts in order to get that expansion. So I love what you said. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, isn't it Bashar that said change, the process of changing is actually more stable than being in that state of stableness? I'm not saying it the way he did, but didn't he talk about that? So Laurie, what you just said was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Thoughts changing.
I believe what Bashar has mentioned again, and I apologize if I misquote it, but I think he actually uses the number 1 billion times a second. There's this flow of change and constant change, and to the point where change is the stability of everything. And we are in each and every moment of our lives creating our own reality through definitions and emotions attached to different definitions, and in the way that they affect us, either in love or in fear, and the definitions and the labels we put on those things. So yes, everything is changing all the time.
Yeah,
And
I believe what he says is the only truth is change.
oh, there you go. Yes.
Thank you.
And that we're in this moment now. It's only now. And then the perspectives, like you were talking about, Gary, the billions of different perspectives are happening right now. And that we just see it. We just see it as like present, past, and future, but it's just all right now. And even our multi-dimensional lives are right now. Past lives are right now. Future lives are right now. It's all right now. But for me, that the oracle statement about the dark night of the soul, my perspective on that is that we have been under a delusional, we've been lied to, let's just say that, for many, many years about what really has happened to us. We've been tried to be made small. And I think the truth of it is that we are part of the divine source. And what does that mean? How big is that? We have no idea, and we've been deliberately, that's been covered up in our society, and maybe in many other societies. But I think once we realize that we are one with a divine source, and our cosmic family is one with divine source. I mean, I can't even imagine that knowledge of really sinking in for each of us. To me, that is the brightest light that there could ever be. And we'll know who we are. We know who each other is. We'll know that we are part of divine source, and that we are not small, and we're not weak. We are very loved, and we are creators of our own reality and our universes, multiverses. It's just, I mean, we're all always going to be expanding, going up and up and up forever, and it's just gonna be amazing. But that one constant truth is that we are part of divine creation. That's the most beautiful thing to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've heard lots of people say, like, we as humans don't really realize how powerful we are, that other galaxies and other beings see us as, extremely powerful. And yet we live in this world surrounded by fear. So we don't know our own power. So I love what you said, getting to know that we are that powerful, and not powerful over anything or anyone else, but just to stand in your own self-empowerment would be a wonderful thing for all of us. And I hope that for everybody. So as Garry and I talked about, I don't just do things once, right? I am a person who thinks things through many, many, many times to figure out what I really feel and believe. So I'm going to share both. I'm going to share the first thoughts that came up when I heard this, and then kind of where I am right now. So when I first heard this, the dark night calls forth the light within. was, how do we respond to chaos? How do we respond when our beliefs are shaken, which can call forth the light to see what our beliefs have been hiding from us? When we discuss what that means individually and come to the root of why, what a better world looks like for everyone, and I mean everyone, we shall all see with new eyes. So in the dark, we see the light. So what is the light of truth? Is the darkness our belief system? What's holding us back from joy? Is the light our joy? Will we see a new world if we live in the light of joy? What would it look like to create from joy instead of fear or the darkness? So that was that was my thought process and all the questions that came up when I started thinking about this sentence. And then I started exploring, like, what does the dark night of the soul mean for everybody? And I listened to a lot of people talk. And I found it very interesting that I couldn't find one video from Bashar on what he explained the dark night of the soul was. There may be one out there, but I couldn't find it. And I found that very interesting. But I did hear Sarah Landon speak, and she said, the dark night of the soul will last as long as we continue to deny love for ourselves and deem ourselves unworthy. So that struck a chord with me for something. So I started writing. And I wrote, the dark night of the soul calls forth the light within. So it calls us to see love from within, to truly, truly give ourselves the love we deserve and we need to feel from within. And when the light of truth comes forth, so when we acknowledge our power, when we know ourselves as the masters we truly are, then the blind shall see again, and we will know our true selves once again. So that's what it had evolved for me from beginning to end, and kind of where I stand now is that when we truly love ourselves and we truly acknowledge that we are masters, that we are source energy, then we see who we truly are. So that's what it meant. That's what it means for me right now. And I love getting to explore what it means for each one of you so that it might evolve and I might change what it means again. So as we wrap up, I just want to hear from each one of you, like, is there any last impressions or thoughts that you'd like to share with everyone?
I would like to just say that I think this is an important conversation that we should have with each other and, lots of other people, and just to keep talking and keep growing and exploring. I like how that you were writing in your journal and, going within to see how you felt, Laurie, and what you believed. I think that's important, just to explore how we feel and share with each other, our views. And so it was really great to hear from everybody this morning. A great conversation.
Yeah, and I just really appreciate the fact that you ladies are doing this podcast, because I do think it's really important. And, I've kind of been living under a rock for the last few years, rightfully so, and very happy doing so. But, I have a lot of alone time to have a lot of thoughts going on in my head. So to be able to discuss it with people and to be able to hear your thoughts is just really nourishing for me. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. This has been a great opportunity to talk openly in regards to this subject of open contact, and the four of us could probably talk for days about this subject. There's so many rabbit holes to go down and get lost in, and what does it look like? What does it feel like? And I can say that, and I'm not a student per se of Bashar. I've heard of him. I followed some of his stuff that he's said, and the formula that he talks about is a great way to look at life. But I can see originally, I can see why there may have been this pushback in time on the timeline as we may know it as time. I can see why there's been a pushback as of late as to why this quote unquote open contact is going to occur. There is a lot of moving parts right now, and I think some of the powers to be on a humanitarian basis on our planet, I'm not sure how welcoming they would be to to any quote unquote alien visit at this point. I think if they came with any sense of threat, that we would probably not open them welcomely at all. And if they came in a loving, compassionate way, we'd want to stick them in a cage. So so it will be fun to see what happens when we do finally meet our cosmic cousins in a way that that hopefully will be beneficial to all. But thank you again for allowing me to be part of this conversation.
Yes, and I just want to thank everybody. I think this is so important for us to have these conversations. And I loved what you said, Garry. I too enjoy listening to Bashar. I'm not a follower because what he does for me is he opens up new ways of thinking, of me exploring my own beliefs and my own thoughts, just like I think this conversation does for me too. So I don't find him any more valuable than I find us right here. But I do enjoy that he does make me think new thought processes, and gets me excited about exploring my thoughts and the directions it's going in and changing my belief systems, not based off of what he's telling me to, but based off of him making me think in a new direction that I get to explore. So I loved how you said that, and I loved this conversation, and I can't wait to have more roundtables so that we get to keep continuing to have these conversations, because I think it is really important. So I am very honored to have you guys join me today, and very appreciative that you were willing to come on and share and be seen. So if you've liked this conversation as much as we have, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, how is your intuition leading you to the next perfect step?